Good morning. And before I say anything else, I need you to stop whatever you're doing, because what I'm about to share with you in the next few minutes could completely change the way you think about aging. Most people assume that reaching your 70s and 80s means slowing down, accepting limitations, and quietly watching your world get smaller. But I'm here to tell you today that assumption is dead wrong. For decades, many older Americans have been told the same story. You've probably heard it from television commercials, casual conversations, and sometimes even from healthcare professionals. The story goes something like this. As you get older, weakness is inevitable, memory loss is unavoidable, and losing your independence is simply part of life. But what if that story is incomplete? What if age itself isn't the real issue? What if the difference between someone who struggles at 75 and someone who thrives at 85 comes down to a handful of specific abilities that can be measured, protected, and in many cases, improved? My name is Dr. James Carter, and after spending years studying healthy aging, longevity, and the habits that help older adults remain independent, I've learned something remarkable. The people who age exceptionally well are not superhuman. They're not lottery winners of genetics, and they're not necessarily spending hours in the gym or following extreme health programs. Instead, they tend to preserve a few critical abilities that allow them to continue living life on their own terms. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. In fact, researchers who study healthy aging consistently find that only a small percentage of adults maintain exceptional physical, mental, and emotional function deep into their later years. Those individuals don't simply live longer, they maintain their freedom. They continue traveling. They spend meaningful time with family. They enjoy hobbies. They make plans for the future. Most importantly, they remain active participants in their own lives. And that's something every one of us wants. Because when most people think about getting older, they aren't afraid of birthdays. They're afraid of losing independence. They're afraid of not being able to drive. They're afraid of becoming dependent on others. They're afraid of no longer recognizing the people they love. Those fears are understandable. But today's discussion is about something far more hopeful. It's about recognizing the signs that your body and brain are still working in your favor. We're going to count down 8 powerful abilities that often separate those who merely grow older from those who continue to thrive. And I strongly encourage you to stay until the end, because the number one ability on this list surprises almost everyone. In many ways, it may be more important than blood pressure, cholesterol, or even physical strength. But before we begin, I would love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and tell me your age and which of these abilities you feel strongest in right now. Whether you're 60, 70, 80, or beyond, your experience matters. Many people reading the comments are looking for encouragement, and your story could be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Now let's begin. Number 8 is the ability to walk continuously for 30 minutes without needing to stop. At first glance, this may not sound particularly impressive. After all, walking is one of the most natural activities humans perform. But when we look at aging through a medical lens, walking becomes much more than transportation. Walking is information. Every step tells a story about your heart, lungs, muscles, joints, circulation, balance, and nervous system. When a person can comfortably walk for 30 minutes, it usually indicates that multiple body systems are working together efficiently. And that matters tremendously after age 60. You see, many of my patients tell me something similar. They say, "Doctor, I don't feel old. I just don't have the same energy I used to." If you've ever felt that way, you're certainly not alone. Part of that change involves what's happening inside your cells. As we age, the structures responsible for producing energy become less efficient. Think of them as tiny engines that gradually lose performance over time. The result? Activities that once felt effortless can suddenly feel exhausting. Walking is one of the most effective ways to push back against that process. Regular walking encourages circulation, supports cardiovascular health, improves endurance, and helps maintain muscle function. But there is something else walking does that often goes unnoticed. It preserves confidence. When someone knows they can walk through a grocery store, enjoy a vacation, visit grandchildren, attend community events, or simply take a stroll around the neighborhood without fear, they maintain something priceless: freedom. I remember speaking with a gentleman in his mid-70s who had gradually stopped taking walks because he assumed slowing down was normal. Over time, he became less active, less social, and increasingly isolated. After rebuilding a simple walking routine, he told me something I'll never forget. He said, "I didn't realize how much of my life I had stopped participating in." That's the real power of movement. It's not just about exercise, it's about staying connected to life. If you're able to walk continuously for 30 minutes today, that's a wonderful sign. And if you're not there yet, don't be discouraged. Progress matters far more than perfection. Now let's move to number 7. Number 7 is the ability to sleep deeply and wake up feeling refreshed. This is one of the most overlooked signs of healthy aging. Many people assume poor sleep is simply part of getting older, but that belief isn't entirely accurate. While sleep patterns do change with age, quality sleep remains one of the most important foundations of long-term health. Think about how you feel after a night of poor sleep. Your patience is lower. Your memory isn't as sharp. Your energy drops. Even simple tasks seem more difficult. Now imagine that happening night after night for months or years. The effects begin to accumulate. Research continues to show that sleep plays a major role in memory, emotional well-being, immune function, cardiovascular health, and cognitive performance. During deep sleep, your brain performs critical maintenance work. It's almost like a nightly reset process. Important memories are organized, cellular repair takes place, hormonal systems rebalance, inflammation is regulated. In many ways, sleep is when your body does some of its most important healing. Yet countless adults over 60 struggle with fragmented sleep. Some wake up repeatedly during the night. Others fall asleep easily, but wake long before morning. And many rely heavily on sleep aids that may not address the underlying causes. The healthiest older adults often share one common habit. They protect their sleep. They maintain consistent schedules. They create calming evening routines. They limit unnecessary stimulation before bed. And they understand that quality sleep isn't laziness. It's an investment in tomorrow. If you're waking up feeling rested most mornings, your body is giving you valuable feedback. It's telling you that important systems are still functioning well. And that brings us to number 6, the ability to stand on one leg for at least 10 seconds. I know this sounds surprisingly simple, but what this test reveals about healthy aging is extraordinary. Balance is one of those abilities we rarely think about until it begins to disappear. When you're younger, you can step over obstacles, turn quickly, or recover from a stumble without much thought. But maintaining balance requires constant communication between your muscles, eyes, inner ear, joints, and brain. It's actually one of the most complex tasks your body performs. The reason balance matters so much is because falls remain one of the leading threats to independence among older adults. A single serious fall can change the course of a person's life. That's why preserving balance is so important. The encouraging news is that balance can be improved. Simple activities such as walking, gentle strength training, Tai Chi, and balance exercises can make a significant difference. If you're over 60, this may surprise you. Some of the strongest predictors of future independence aren't complicated medical tests. They're everyday abilities like walking, sleeping well, and maintaining balance. And we've only just begun. In the next section, we'll continue with numbers 5 through 1, including the surprising ability that may be the strongest predictor of healthy aging and longevity. So far, we've talked about 3 powerful signs of healthy aging: the ability to walk comfortably for 30 minutes, sleep deeply and wake feeling restored, and maintain balance on one leg. Those are impressive abilities. But the next 5 signs may be even more revealing because they touch on something many people worry about as they grow older: maintaining independence, mental sharpness, and a sense of purpose. Let's continue. Number 5 is the ability to maintain meaningful social connections. This may sound less important than physical strength or heart health, but the science tells a very different story. Many of my patients are surprised when I bring this topic up during appointments. They expect me to focus on blood pressure, medications, cholesterol, or joint pain. But one of the first questions I often ask is simple. Who do you spend time with? Because loneliness doesn't just affect emotions, it affects biology. Human beings are wired for connection. We thrive when we feel valued, understood, and connected to others. Unfortunately, as people enter their later years, social circles often become smaller. Retirement changes daily routines. Children move away. Friends relocate or pass on. Life naturally becomes quieter. And while some solitude can be peaceful, chronic isolation creates a very different experience. I've met older adults who had excellent medical reports, but struggled deeply because they felt disconnected from the world around them. I've also met people in their 80s who dealt with physical limitations, yet radiated energy because they remained engaged with family, friends, neighbors, church groups, volunteer organizations, or community activities. The difference was remarkable. Strong relationships provide emotional support during difficult times. They give us reasons to stay active. They create opportunities for laughter, conversation, learning, and shared experiences. Most importantly, they remind us that we still matter. One gentleman I worked with after the loss of his spouse told me that what hurt most wasn't being alone. It was feeling forgotten. Once he became involved in a local mentoring program, everything began to change. His mood improved. His activity level increased. He started making plans again. He looked forward to his days. That is the power of connection. If there are people in your life who care about you, nurture those relationships. Call them. Visit them. Spend time with them. And if your social circle has become smaller, remember this. It is never too late to build new connections. Now let's move to number 4. Number 4 is the ability to remember recent events, names, conversations, and important details without significant difficulty. Let's be honest. Memory concerns are among the biggest fears many adults have about aging. Forgetting where you placed your keys is frustrating. Walking into a room and forgetting why you went there can be annoying, but occasional forgetfulness happens at every age. What we're talking about here is something different. We're talking about maintaining cognitive agility, the ability to think clearly, the ability to learn, the ability to participate fully in conversations, the ability to remember experiences and continue building new ones. Many people mistakenly believe the brain simply declines with age and there's nothing that can be done about it. Fortunately, modern research paints a far more hopeful picture. Your brain remains adaptable throughout life. It continues forming connections. It continues learning. It continues responding to challenges. In other words, your brain wants to stay active. The key is giving it opportunities to do so. Reading, learning new skills, playing strategy games, taking classes, having meaningful conversations, trying unfamiliar activities. All of these help keep the brain engaged. I often tell my patients that retirement should never mean retiring from curiosity. Some of the most mentally sharp people I've met in their 70s and 80s are constantly learning. They're exploring new hobbies, learning technology, studying history, taking music lessons, joining book clubs. Their age doesn't define their mindset. Their curiosity does. If you can still learn, adapt, remember, and engage with the world around you, that is an extraordinary gift. And it brings us to number 3. Number 3 is the ability to rise from the floor without significant assistance. This is one of the most revealing physical tests of healthy aging. Why? Because it combines several important abilities into a single movement: strength, flexibility, mobility, coordination, balance, core stability. When you lower yourself to the floor and stand back up, your entire body must work together. That may not sound impressive, until you realize how many adults lose this ability over time. The loss often happens gradually. A person avoids sitting on the floor. Then they begin relying on furniture for support. Eventually, getting up becomes difficult or impossible without assistance. The issue isn't just the movement itself, it's what the movement represents. When someone can rise from the floor confidently, it often indicates they have preserved functional strength. Functional strength isn't about lifting the heaviest weights in a gym, it's about performing everyday activities independently. Getting out of bed, carrying groceries, climbing stairs, playing with grandchildren, maintaining freedom. Many older adults assume strength loss is unavoidable, but research consistently shows that muscles remain highly responsive to training well into later life. I've seen individuals in their late 70s and early 80s become noticeably stronger after beginning simple resistance exercises. Not because they were trying to look younger, because they wanted to stay independent. And that's a goal worth pursuing. Now let's move to number 2. Number 2 is maintaining strong cardiovascular health. This includes healthy blood pressure, efficient circulation, and a heart that performs its job without excessive strain. Your heart works every minute of every day, while you're sleeping, while you're eating, while you're reading this right now. It never takes a vacation. And as we age, protecting heart health becomes increasingly important. The encouraging news is that many of the same habits we've already discussed support cardiovascular wellness. Walking regularly, sleeping well, managing stress, staying socially connected, remaining physically active, eating a balanced diet. These habits don't just help you feel better, they help your heart function more efficiently. One thing I've noticed among adults who age exceptionally well is that they don't view healthy habits as punishment. They view them as investments. They understand that every walk, every healthy meal, every good night's sleep is a deposit into their future. And that mindset makes all the difference. Because healthy aging isn't about chasing perfection. It's about consistently making choices that support the life you want to keep living. Which brings us to the final and most important sign on today's list. Number 1. The ability to maintain a sense of purpose. I know some people are surprised to see this at the top. After all, purpose doesn't show up on a blood test. Your doctor can't measure it with a blood pressure cuff. You won't see it on an X-ray, yet it may be one of the most powerful forces influencing long-term health. Think about the people you know who seem vibrant regardless of age. What do they often have in common? They have something to look forward to, something that pulls them forward, a reason to get up in the morning, a mission, a responsibility, a passion, a goal, a person they care for, a community they serve, a project they love. Purpose creates momentum, and momentum keeps people engaged with life. Many of my patients tell me that retirement was wonderful at first. No alarm clocks, no deadlines, no commute. But after a while, some began feeling adrift. Without structure or meaningful engagement, they gradually became less active physically and mentally. The opposite happens when people discover a renewed sense of purpose. Suddenly they have plans, energy returns, they become more socially involved, they challenge themselves, they continue growing. One former teacher began tutoring children. A retired engineer started mentoring young professionals. A grandmother launched a family history project. A veteran began volunteering with fellow veterans. Their lives changed because they rediscovered a reason to contribute. And that's what purpose really is. Contribution. Knowing that your presence still matters. Knowing that your experiences still have value. Knowing that someone, somewhere, benefits because you're here. If you're over 60, I want you to hear this clearly. Your best years are not automatically behind you. Some of the most meaningful chapters of life are written later. I've seen people start businesses in their 70s, learn instruments in their 80s, find love again after loss, travel to places they had only dreamed about, build friendships that transformed their lives. The future still belongs to you. And that brings us back to where we started. Healthy aging isn't about trying to be 25 again. It's about preserving the abilities that allow you to remain fully engaged in life. Walking with confidence, sleeping deeply, balancing steadily, connecting with others, thinking clearly, moving independently, protecting your heart, and most importantly, maintaining a reason to keep moving forward. If you're strong in several of these areas, that's wonderful. Celebrate it, protect it, continue building on it. And if you've noticed weaknesses in some areas, don't lose hope. The human body has an extraordinary capacity to adapt. The brain can learn, muscles can strengthen, balance can improve, relationships can be rebuilt, purpose can be rediscovered. Progress is possible at every stage of life. Before I go, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 8 abilities do you feel strongest in today? And which one are you committed to improving over the next few weeks? Share your answer in the comments below because your story may inspire someone else who needs encouragement. And if you found this video helpful, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss future content. By subscribing to Dr. James Carter Health, you're joining a community of people who believe that aging doesn't have to mean giving up on vitality, confidence, independence, or hope. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Take care of yourself, stay active, stay curious, stay connected, and remember, growing older is inevitable. Growing weaker is not. I'll see you in the next video.